one moment in their life that they get caught on camera, and it really sets the tone for everything else, and it destroys a lot of what they've built, their careers, their social media following, their friends or family. But on the other side of that, I recognize that this is probably not the first time they've behaved badly. It's just the first time it's been caught on camera and brought to social media community that then tears them down. And so anybody who does something like that should be held accountable. And a lot of people lost their jobs over that, as they should. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sergeant Q. With me, as always, Doc Jess.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here.
All right, Jess, what I've been noticing, and this has been a trend, we've kind of touched on it before, but in the last several weeks, I've just seen some horrible videos of people behaving really badly, and it goes viral. They lose their jobs, they get canceled, and all of these things happen. And it really divides a lot of these people. It, number one, destroys their life from one moment in their life that they get caught on camera, and it really sets the tone for everything else. And it destroys a lot of what they've built, their careers, their social media following, their friends or family. But on the other side of that, I recognize that this is probably not the first time they've behaved badly. It's just the first time it's been caught on camera and brought to social media community that then tears them down.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about some of these videos of people behaving badly, and then what can we do if we recognize these things in ourselves or one of our friends? How can we be of best help?
All right. And one question I would have for you is, what is behaving badly? Because one demographic or persons would think, no, that's normal, when another person's would say, no, that's operating badly.
Right. And so that's a great point. And so if there's a question at all, if this is bad behavior, then it doesn't fall into the category of the videos that I'm going to talk about.
Awesome.
So this is stuff where everybody looks at it and says, yeah, that's not right. Okay. Like people mocking Charlie Kirk's dad. Like that's something that is not acceptable. It wasn't acceptable when people were mocking George Floyd's dad, anybody's dad. To mock that is not good. Yeah. And so anybody who does something like that should be held accountable. And a lot of people lost their jobs over that, as they should.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care what side of the political aisle you fall on. If you do something that outrageous, you deserve to be terminated or have some punishment. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so those are the types of things. And we're not talking about Charlie Kirk instance specifically, because there are thousands of videos like that. There's a whole collection website of people behaving badly who were then punished, right? And so that's something that is this huge epicenter of the epidemic that I'm talking about. But I want to talk about some other videos, like one that I'm going to show you. And so this is a DoorDash driver. Okay, so she is a DoorDash driver. I'm going to show you these in the order that I watched them.
Okay.
And my emotions kind of was like a pendulum. I was on one side, and then I was on the other, and then I came back kind of to the middle and looked at all the evidence. And then, I made my determination.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Go ahead. Watch the first video. Okay, so what's your initial reaction to that?
Ooh, well, my initial reaction is like, people lie all the time. So my initial reaction is like a guardrail goes up to not have an opinion, because I have no idea how true this is from her perspective.
That's crazy. So my initial reaction, because ever since I was like 12 years old, men have been conditioned to always believe the victim, always believe them. That's just, you remember in grade school and like high school where they would separate the boys and the girls. I don't know what they talked to you about, but we were conditioned to always believe the victim. And so that was my initial reaction, was to just be like, oh my gosh, this woman was sexually assaulted. It's terrible.
I'm very interested in the rest of these days now.
Right now you're kind of engaged. That's like where I was. I was like, okay, now let me go down this rabbit hole. Like, I want to see the video of this happening, because she says she has it all on video. And so she's right. A lot of her videos have been taken down. People reposted it. And so it's hard to find an original. You usually find somebody duetting it.
Yeah.
Right? So you see, there's a lot of duets out there. Okay. So that's the first video I watched. So I'm going to show you the second video, which is somebody duetted her and the original video that you can't really find anymore, but you'll see it on the left side of the screen, what it looks like. Now, what are your thoughts? Now that you saw like her talking about it, then you see the actual video.
I mean, you're really putting me on the spot here.
This is the emotional roller coaster I went through the other day. I was like, what is happening right now?
I am a professional licensed mental health counselor. I have to try to have an opinion. It goes back to my first initial, like, put my walls up to say don't have an opinion until I know everything. That's when I see things like that. I'm like, no, people are crazy on all sides. And so I'm like, there's a couple things that the second video that he said, if there is proof, right, that she opened the door and exposed this man the way that she did, and all the big language of he sexually assaulted, I was sexually assaulted, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. And then, to know victims of severe sexual assault,
which we both know a few of them,
is a slap in the face to them, right? If evidence and things come out that it wasn't this picture that she painted, it always brings me back to the VA. And the few soldiers that I've heard with my own ears claiming sexual assault and saying, yeah, it's just to get my disability up. And claiming PTSD when they were not even in any combat zone. Right. And so, like, yes, people can have PTSD without being in a combat zone. I'm talking specific people that never
experienced anything traumatic,
but because they were in the military, they're pulling that card and trying to get paid. Yeah. And it makes it so much harder for those that are struggling to get what they deserve.
I agree with you.
And so the whole training young men always believe the victim, it is a problem. And not everybody is sexually assaulted who says they are. And this poor girl or this poor guy are now both going to have long-term consequences for being right, being wrong, whatever it is. So without answering your question correctly, I genuinely put a wall up to make sure I don't form an opinion or have a response or reaction until I get more information.
So for me, I went from like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This dude snatched this girl and sexually assaulted her, because that's what she says, sexually assaulted. And I didn't see the video. All I saw was her talking about it.
Well, and I knew that he didn't touch her because she didn't say it.
But
your mind went there.
My mind went, he sexually assaulted me.
Yeah.
So assault means there had to be some sort of physical contact.
Yeah.
Right? Because battery, if I spit on you, that's battery.
Yes.
I have to physically touch you in some way, or hit you with something, or to be assault.
Yes.
So when she uses those terms, immediately there has to be, in my mind, some sort of contact, and I have to believe her. And then I watched the second video, and I was like, wait, this changes things quite a bit. He didn't even talk to her. The dude's passed out drunk.
Yeah.
And he has ring camera footage of this.
Shut up. That's where, and he showed her opening the door. Oh my God, no way.
So here's, all I found was a screenshot because it's in police evidence now, right? That's how far the door is cracked. And in her original video, if you can find a stitch of the original, she says that the door is cracked and she pushed it open, and that's when she saw it. And she edits that out in that other video.
Oh.
So you can see in the video, it was only cracked a little bit. And she went up there, probably honestly, I believe, probably innocently, like, hey, have your food.
Sure.
Saw him, and then was like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then something happened in her brain at that moment where this could have been a funny story that she told to her friends or posted on Reddit that would have hit his anonymity and it'd be a funny story about, oh my gosh, what would happen to me?
Yeah.
Or it could turn into this viral now law enforcement incident
Yeah.
because she claimed things that, according to the video, aren't necessarily true.
Yeah.
And so it just got me thinking. I've seen over the last several weeks multiple people fabricating events that didn't really happen.
Sure.
And I don't know if this is something that social media has kind of spurred on because now people can get their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
Or if this has kind of always been there and then just everybody else is noticing it now because of social media. I don't know, chicken or egg, right? But I see this really trending upward over the last several months. Yeah. And in the last few weeks, there are multiple of these types of incidents that I've been seeing. And of course, the algorithm, right? Like wants to share more things, but I thought it's something that we should discuss because we've all seen people doing things like this, acting in a way, and it's not going to be a one-off. It's going to be a pattern. Everybody has a friend who, or former friend that would highly embellish stories and would say things and you're like, I was there. That didn't happen. Yeah. Or it didn't happen that way. Or that person never said that. And sometimes we're on the receiving end of that. And I want to actually take that out of the equation because we each have our own bias at that point, right? If somebody says something against us, we're like, that isn't true. There's a really big bias we have. So I'm talking more about when you see one of your friends saying or doing something like this, that this pattern that we start to see happen. What is that, Jess, when we see that?
When you see a pattern of destructive behavior,
Yeah, that's perfect.
false information that they actually believe to be true.
Hyper exaggerating stories, embellishing on things, being louder. Now, this is a minority of the population, but it's still good to be aware of these types of things so you can protect yourself and your family from these situations.
Yeah.
All right, Jess, take it away. What are some of the main diagnoses that we can see causing something like this?
Right. And I remember we were discussing a little bit about my professional and personal opinion is just like foundationally emotional unintelligence.
Right.
And I go back to parenting, and parents are just not doing their due diligence at properly raising their kids during those human growth and development years to teach them how to have healthy relationship with their emotions. And so they just act crazy. Now, some of the extreme behaviors that are consistent and repetitive, they're from late teenage, early adulthood, then to later in life, we could be dealing with some pretty dangerous cluster B type personality disorders that can wreak havoc on the person's life and everybody they're in relationship with. I think we were talking a little bit about how when you went to the VA, when you started wanting to get help and you were so scared, right? Because it was like a movie, the white padded room, the white hallways, and you're like, oh, am I going to find out like some psychopath and gonna need to be in here the rest of my life?
Right.
And how I disagreed with your psychologist or whatever, that and not necessarily disagree, right? Like when he said, no, you would know by about 26 if you had one of those. He's talking about bipolar, schizophrenia, things like that, which you would absolutely 9 times out of 10 know by then. Those are not disorders, mental health disorders that go undiagnosed.
Right.
Most of the time.
Because they're pretty extreme cases.
Yes. The ones that go extremely undiagnosed are the cluster B personality disorders. And here's the reason why. everybody else is always the problem with those cluster B personality disorders, and it's incredibly rare, if very, very rare for somebody with a full-fledged cluster B personality disorder. So we're talking borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder. These are very extreme victim mentality individuals and would never succumb to, yeah, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I should get some help. It's always everybody else. And I think remember we were talking about, uh, I haven't done a ton of research on this. So these numbers are completely hip pocket, just what I'm throwing out there. I would have a designated, or what's the word I'm looking for? A guesstimate of 6% of the population having a personality disorder, a cluster B personality disorder, and maybe 10% of those getting diagnosed.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, a lot of people running around out there wreaking havoc in people's lives and not getting help for it.
Not just that. And you were mentioning like how everybody talks about, oh, my ex is this, my ex.
Yes.
But
So
yeah.
we had talked about that, right? And so you do see these people out there that blame everybody else. Like it's always somebody else's fault. Like every single person that they have dated since the beginning of time is a narcissist. That's just such a buzzword now, and I hate it because it's a really good way for people to just deflect their own bad behavior on somebody else. Another thing they like to say is, I'm setting healthy boundaries. And sometimes you are, and that's good. But a lot of times what I see people doing is saying, I'm setting boundaries as a way to escape accountability.
Yeah.
For their bad behavior. So you see that people are trying to say they're setting boundaries, but they're really just trying to escape accountability. And so some of you, it's touching some nerves right now, and that's good because you really got to check yourself and say, hey, am I exhibiting some of these behaviors? Am I really setting healthy boundaries, or am I escaping accountability? Or is it a combination of both? Because it very well could be.
One very, very popular thing right now about setting boundaries is just the amount of weak-minded, weak emotional intelligence individuals we have. And I have to set a boundary for everything because they can't handle hard things. They can't handle a hard conversation with a family member. They can't handle accountability. Like each generation is getting worse and worse and worse at handling accountability, about working through hard things in your family and your relationships. And it's the buzzword, well, I'm setting boundaries, when that's not the purpose of a boundary.
Right.
If you really think about a boundary, a true, authentic, or organic boundary is telling that person, I love you so much and I value our relationship so much that in order for us to have a good relationship moving forward, there's a few things that we just need to talk about to set some of those boundaries so that we can thrive.
Here's an example of a good boundary that I set in my life. I used to drink a lot, all the time, like all during the week. Every Friday and Saturday night, I go out with these big group of guys and we would just shoot pool all night and drink all night. And we had a ton of fun doing this. And I had to set a boundary with those guys and say, hey, I'm not going out with you and I'm not drinking. And I had to do that for several years to where I was emotionally strong enough to go hang out with those guys and shoot pool on the league and on the team and not drink alcohol. Where I could sit there and have a soda and not drink. That's a healthy boundary. I said, look, I can still hang out with you guys. I still went to family gatherings with these guys. I still went and watched football games with these guys, but I just didn't drink. And I didn't go out to the bar, play on pool league, because it was all just so drinking centered. And so that's a healthy boundary I set. And then eventually I got strong enough to the point where I could go and shoot pool at the bar. And I didn't feel like I had to be drinking nonstop. That's a healthy boundary that I set in my own.
And my favorite example of a healthy boundary in, say, relationships is, it comes from the book Boundaries, Henry Cloud. I think, I don't know. I'll look it up. But it starts out with a really good example of this young married couple. They get married. They, uh 6 months honeymoon phase, everything is bliss, and then they get in their first big argument.
Mm.
And he gets so angry, he puts his hands on her, and he and, shoves her into a corner, and very intimidating, very scary, and they both went, "This went too far." Yeah, and she knows that he loves her. She knows that he doesn't want to hurt her, but she also knows that she can't personally put up with that kind of behavior.
Right.
And so she wrote him a letter. They calmed down. She wrote him a letter, I believe, and she said, "Hey, all those things. I know you love me. I know you never want to hurt me. And there's some emotions that you have unregulated that you need to get some help with. If this were to ever happen again, these are the things I'm going to need to do. So I have a bag packed. If this were to happen again, for your well-being and for my well-being and the well-being of this relationship, I'll have to remove myself from the physical relationship until you take the initiative to go get help that you need and do proper steps and accountability so that you don't make that mistake again, because it doesn't just hurt me, it hurts you when you do that." And so he's like, "You're right, yes." And they go another 6 months, everything's fine, and then it happens again. And she filled her end of the deal. She said, "I love you so much. I'm not doing this because I'm still root for us. We're gonna make this work, but I need you to do the things that I needed." And he did. He went to anger management, he went to counseling, he did all the things that he needed to do, and their relationship was better for it.
Mm.
And that's the boundary of recognizing the relationship is important enough to set this boundary so that we can thrive.
So let's talk about what can people do specifically. Let's give them a tool or a tip. Like what's one thing they can do if they find themselves in one of these relationships, how to recognize it and then protect themselves.
If somebody recognizes that they're potentially in an actual abusive relationship with a personality disorder.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna throw the abusive part on there, but yeah, I guess they are abusive relationships at that point, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, I just hadn't. Yeah.
Anytime you're dealing with a genuine narcissist personality disorder, there's always abuse involved, always. And they are master manipulators. They are the guy, and they love the church. Narcissists love the church because they can hide behind wrongly interpreted biblical themes.
Right.
And it's very, very sad, but you can't work with a narcissist. You can't. Remember, maybe 10% put themselves in a position to even be diagnosed.
Right.
Then having to do all the work to self-reflect and grow, not going to happen. One guy I heard explain like a narcissistic personality disorder being similar to somebody with schizophrenia. So if you think of the person you know who has schizophrenia and they hear voices in their head, it doesn't matter. They know they're not there, but it is so real in their head. And when they're having an episode, just looking at them, if you're having an episode and you're genuinely schizophrenic and you're genuinely hearing these voices, me looking at you and just saying, they're not real. I know that up here, but it's so real to me, right? That's a narcissistic personality disorder. They genuinely feel they're justified in all the things that they do, which makes it ultimately almost impossible to correct that behavior.
Yeah, and that person will avoid accountability because I worked with a person like this. They worked for me, actually. They ended up embezzling a bunch of money and they wouldn't be held accountable. They hid inside the church, all of those things. They manipulated a ton of people. And once I started to peel back those layers of the onion, I saw all these other people that were manipulated by this individual.
Very common.
And once I revealed these things to them, they're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what was happening to me. And so very quickly, this person got found out. They left that church and went to another church. And again, the cycle continues. And so this person just kind of continued doing that throughout their life until eventually they died. And so that's absolutely true. They're going to continue to avoid that accountability piece. And one of the things that this person would never do is he would tell this person over here something and then tell this other person something different and pin these two people against each other.
Oh, yeah.
But they would never want to be in the same room with those three people.
No.
They would avoid it at all costs and try to control the situation by saying, oh, I'll go talk to this person. I'm going to help you. I'm going to handle this. I'll go talk to them. I will deal with this. I'll handle that. But what they're doing is just controlling the narrative. because if all of those people got in the same room,
Right.
then the truth would come out.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why the Bible tells us if we have a problem with a brother or sister in Christ, we bring it to their attention. And if we don't get anywhere, then we bring in a friend, somebody from the church.
Some accountability.
Get 3 people in the room. And if they still don't want to listen, then you have to bring in the church. And by the church, we mean the church leadership into that situation, which is exactly what I tried to do with this Christian brother. And he would avoid it at all costs. He would never show up. He would agree to the meetings, and he never showed up to any one of those, ever. And so that's the type of stuff that you can start to see happen.
And it's very textbook. When I walk, usually I walk women through narcissistic personality disorder is a little stronger and more prevalent in males. Borderline.
Agree. No, I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
A borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder, a little bit more female. And I'm not going to get into all that, but I walk a lot of women through narcissistic personality disorder abuse and how to get out and how to set boundaries.
How do women, and so I've seen this a little bit. So I want you to tell me, how can women, number one, realize this? Because I see them make excuses a lot.
Yeah. It's what we call battered whites.
Yeah. And they take on that, like, oh no, this is because of me. And so how do you get them to recognize it and then move from it?
It's the mind games and the manipulation of the narcissist that chips away at reality to where they genuinely believe they're the problem all the time. And then they feel like they're going crazy. And that it's just, but it's very textbook. So I'll get a woman in and she's there for something else. I'm having OCD type tendencies or this or that. And as we're unpacking in the first couple months, it's stemming back to the real problem.
Oh, so I see. So because they're under so much mental stress, it's starting to present in other ways, like OCD or something like that.
PTSD, don't have thing.
Hey, okay.
And so their spouse is like, yeah, go get help for that PTSD or that OCD, right? And as we unpack, it's textbook. I literally tell them, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This in this order.
These are patterns.
And this is it. You go home and you start setting these boundaries. This will happen. And every single time it happens exactly how I line it out for them. Every single time. Once they're out of that relationship, there's so much trauma healing that they have to continue to go through afterwards, because neuroscience and research shows that any amount of time in an intimate, close relationship with a narcissistic personality disorder individual has chemical changes to your brain.
Yeah, I absolutely can see that happening because the synapses that fire together wire together. So their brain has been conditioned into this pattern. And so then you have to try and break that pattern.
And, like we talk about narcissism, right? It's that word that people like, we're all narcissistic. It's just without indulgence. It's just selfish ambition, so, like self-centeredness. Like we all have narcissistic traits. I'm talking when we branch over to the true disorder is when those are the ones who I have yet to see one narcissist ever turn their life around.
So this is where we'll kind of make this line so you guys can see it. There's these narcissistic tendencies, and then there's the disorder. And so the defining line there is it negatively impacting your life or the life of people around you? These tendencies, it may be a frustration, but if it's not severely negatively impacting people, then it's not into the disorder piece. I'm trying to explain it the best way that I can, but that's kind of what we're looking at here. So you may have narcissistic tendencies, and everybody has that. And that's actually part of the human experience out of fighting the flesh.
But dysfunction.
It's dysfunction. Yeah. But when it becomes a disorder is when it is affecting daily life for you or other people. That is when it becomes a disorder.
Yeah.
When you have a car accident, you're going to experience post-traumatic stress. Everybody is. That was a traumatic experience. So after traumatic stress. So it's after the event, you're going to have some effects, maybe some nightmares, maybe some uneasiness. You're going to feel uncomfortable driving a car. Every time you get to that intersection, you're going to feel uneasy. That's normal. That's normal part of the healing process. Where it becomes a disorder is where you're like, I'm never leaving the house again. I'm never driving the car. Every time you get in the car, you get into cold sweats, you feel like you're going to vomit, and you just can't drive. You can't move. That is where it becomes a disorder, because now it's negatively impacting your regular daily life. That is the disorder.
Consistently over time.
Yeah, there you go. Consistently over time. So you can have the tendency or the disorder, and there's a line there. And for each of us, that line may be in different places, but there is a line. And so that's what you have to really look for. A lot of what we talk about here, Jess, is being introspective.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things that we talk about, because that's where it starts, is recognizing, like, I'm at this place and I don't want to be here anymore. I've got to move forward. I call that the catalyst moment, where people are like, I'm done living this way and I want to move forward. And those are the exact type of people that I look for to try and help, because I can't help people that are still in that victim mentality. Now you can, because you get paid to sit there for months sometimes and try and get them to that catalyst moment and then move them forward. But me, I don't have the time or patience or empathy that you do to sit there for them for months as they just keep rehashing the same mistakes over and over again. Where I'm like, look, when you hit that catalyst moment, hit me up and I'm going to show you how we can blast through this thing and make some real changes real quick and get you back on track. Like those are the people I look for in that catalyst moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So now how do people, now you said, we talked about getting them to recognize that, hey, what you're dealing with is actually this abusive situation. What's the next step? Because they've recognized it. You told them to set boundaries. What's the next step?
Yeah. Support system.
So tell me, what's the support system like?
Accountability. It's so if you're a active church member, and getting the bride of Christ together. So letting your leadership know and getting your counselor involved with the leadership so they're all on the same page, because not many church leadership are professionally trained in these extensive situations. A lot of lay pastoral counseling can do a lot more harm than good when it comes to counseling in general, especially marriage counseling.
I agree with you. It's good to be a help, like a first responder. Say, hey, I'm recognizing these things. Let's get you into some legitimate professional help. As I think that the church is way underserved in this space, where people are not trying to be a first responder. It's two extremes. Either I don't want anything to do with this, or, hey, I can solve every single problem you got. Yeah. Those are the two that I see happen in the church. And what we got to do is create a space in the middle where people can say, hey, I know just enough to recognize that's something that you need help with. And I know somebody who can help you. Doc Jess over here. Right. So that's where I think the church has been really underserved, is train people up to be that first responder to get them to the professionals they need. So sorry, I don't want to get my soapbox there, but that is where is the church where we really need to focus it.
Well, and that's one way, like if two self-professing Christians, I love, follow, and serve Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, should be able to go in front of their church leadership and say, have it all, my whole life. I'm accountable to the Lord. I'm accountable to you guys. Have my location. Show up whenever you want. Make sure that I'm talking to my wife okay, or to make sure I'm treating my husband with respect. Like, that is the sign of somebody at a catalyst moment that can get help. A narcissist will not submit to that process.
And you can't force anybody into that catalyst moment. That's why I see these drug interventions, that whole TV show intervention. The success rate on that is like less than 4%, because people can't be pushed into that. There has to be that catalyst moment where they want to change. And it sounds like it's the same thing here.
Yeah. You can't drag your husband to marriage counseling. You can. A lot of it can't.
I was just saying, yeah, they can. It doesn't necessarily mean it works.
So, well, with somebody like me, it does. Because then I call the wife out for all her stuff, and then the husband's like, okay, I like this lady, let's go. But then I ray on him next week. But
so here's this thing that's really, really neat, this experience. So this was what it means to be part of a really awesome church. And if you're in a church and you don't have this kind of collective in your church, you need to build one or move to a church that has one. And so this is what I saw. I went up to see a friend after the service. He was chatting with another guy that I'd only met like one time. And in that moment, these two guys are talking. The one guy who's newer to our church, he's struggling with some things. And so we just start talking about it. And next thing you know, there's 3 or 4 guys standing around this new believer and praying with him and saying, hey, man, we understand where you're at. That's where I've been. That's where I'm at right now. The other guy's like, yeah, man, I'm going through that same thing. It's nothing to be ashamed about. Like, we're all struggling with these things. And it's okay to struggle. It's not okay to submit to these things.
Yeah.
And that it's not about being perfect. It's about creating progress in your life. And so just giving him a level set of like, oh man, I looked at all you guys like you all got it together. And here I'm this guy that is just doesn't even know where to start. And to watch the church, watch the men just surround this guy, and we're we're praying over him, and tears are flowing, guys are getting emotional. And this guy was at that catalyst moment. But he says, I don't know what to do. Like I don't want to act this way. I don't want these things in my life. I want to have these positive interactions and relationships, and I just don't know how. Nobody ever showed me.
Yeah.
He's like, my dad didn't show me how to do any of this stuff. So neither did any of our dads. And that's why we're all working together.
Yeah.
And so it was so cool to watch that happen in real time.
Yeah.
Inside of our church, where the men in the church, and this isn't in private. This isn't like, oh, hey, let's go into this private office church. This was in the front of the church. You saw this. This was in the front of the church.
After service.
Right after service, right up by the stage, by the altar. And we're just praying over this guy. And nobody there, he didn't even bare his soul and tell us everything he's dealing with. He didn't have to. Right? Because we all get it, because we all know, because we're dealing with it.
There's nothing new under the sun.
No. And so if you're not a part of a church that has that level of commitment from the body,
Transparency, humility, vulnerability. Yeah. Honesty.
I would say you need to start building that in your church right now. Or you need to go find a church that has it already.
Yeah.
Those are your two options. But don't stay in a lackluster church that doesn't want to grow, doesn't want to change, and doesn't want to be the support network that you just talked about. All right. Well, here at the Mental Health Janitors, we like to do 3 things. Want to educate you, empower you, and encourage you on your mental health journey. So for the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
I'm Doc Jess.
And we're out.